Hi folks, and welcome back to Contract Law. This is week 3, and I have decided to call these little snippet videos our contracts post-it notes. So the post-it note for this week is we will be looking at capacity to contract. This is the second of the 2 prerequisites that you need to have before you then start looking at the real meat and bones of this unit, which is offer acceptance and consideration. So it's kind of the last baby stepping kind of topic that we'll get before we move into the big stuff next week. I hope you're enjoying the unit so far. What we need to do this week is look at things like contracts with minors, contracts with the mentally ill and intoxicated. There's some quite interesting case law this week. I would really encourage, I noticed that a lot of you are doing the quizzes after you've been doing your learning each week, so that's great to see. Keep practicing those quizzes because you have the quiz coming up relatively soon. Let me just check the date on that. And the date is Friday the 9th of April at 9 p.m, folks. Yes, Friday the 9th of April at 9 p.m, the 9th at 9. So make sure you're doing those quizzes to practice up for that. That should hopefully stand you in good stead to get some decent marks for your first 10% assessment. So bear that in mind. Nothing else really a whole lot coming up on the administrative front. But I did want to just kind of let you in on some conversations that I've been having with some students over the past week or so. And the conversations have to do with time management and how to structure your study in this unit. A number of students have said to me, oh, wow, what do I do? You know, where do I start? There seems to be a lot going on here. Yes, there is a reasonable amount going on because this is one of your fundamental units. So there is a fair bit to get through. However, as I was saying to one student in a conversation today, this unit is kind of like, how to eat an elephant, one bite at a time.
Let's take a ride in my Cadillac, like a limousine, this long and black.
And so it's super important that you manage those individual bites quite well. And so I thought I'd just recap how I would recommend you study for this unit. And the way that the learning is designed, because if you stick to the plan, and yes guys, you're going to have to be planners, then I think you'll find the workload quite manageable. First off, let's make the workload clear again. It's a 6 credit point unit, so you need to be setting aside that full 12.5 hours per week. Yes, I know you've got busy schedules, but you need to quarantine off some quiet time that adds up to 12.5 hours. Whether you do that in the Pomodoro technique, where you have little snippets of time and then breaks and then more snippets and then more breaks, is up to you, or whether you like to just smash out 12.5 hours of contract like a zombie at the end of that. But either way, 12.5 hours a week is the minimum that you will need. The way that the unit is designed is that we have the 12.5 hours in the first 2 weeks are split between around about 6 hours of reading and digestion that you'll need to do for the content part of the course. So in week 1, that was theory. In week 2, it was the intention to create legal relations. And then about another 6 odd hours in skills building. So in week 1 we did case notes, and in week 2 you should have done the IRAC material that I've got up under the skills building tile. Those skills building exercises that are under the skills building tile are designed to equip you with the 2 fundamental things that you'll need for the rest of the weeks of this unit. So in week 1, the case note exercises and materials had to do with helping you to read effectively in law school and how to draw out of a case the information that you need fairly efficiently, because you're going to have to do a lot of reading in law school, a lot of cases. So it's important from pretty much the get-go that you learn how to read well and efficiently and draw out what you need from a case. That's why we get you to do case notes in week 1. In week 2, we had a little look at the IRAC method. And as we saw last week when we did our tutorial, we had our first IRAC answer. And gee, I saw some great IRAC answers posted up on Teams. So that's why we do the skills building in weeks 1 and 2, as well as a little teeny baby bit of content. Week 3 is our first full week of content. So our skills building, hopefully, I've given you a little gentle nudge with the skills stuff now, and you will just be able to practice in reading cases, reading GRAW, reading whatever you can get your hands on, study guide, anything law related, but reading efficiently. So, and also practice your IRACs. So now that we're on just content for weeks 3 to 12, you will just have the reading from GRAW and or any other cases that I set for you. That means that instead of having to devote your time 6 hours to skills building and 6 hours to content, you will have around about 9 odd hours a week of content that you will need to get through, and the other 3.5 hours you can spend chipping away at the assignment that will be released no later than Tuesday the 30th of March. So that's that. That's how you should be planning things. Now, on a more micro level, the discussions I've been having with quite a number of students is, how do I manage? Because I feel like I'm getting to the end of the page and it's all going, there's so much terminology and so many words, and then I get up to the end of the page and I think, what have I read? I can't remember a thing. So remember my handy dandy 3 highlighter system: green for cases, yellow for interesting stuff, and pink for really, really important stuff. And the way it will work for you is this. If you do your study in this order, it will really help you by the time you get to reading GRAW. You'll have enough knowledge, you'll be able to use that handy dandy 3 highlighter system well, and you won't feel quite so overwhelmed with terminology and all those words, right? The way you need to do it is in this order. Firstly, you need to engage with the study guide. Again, I would be printing out the study guide and using the three marker system on that as well. The study guide is just designed as a heads up. This is a broad overview of the topic. It will not give you enough information that you will need to pass the unit. It's just designed as a first overview to introduce you to the area. It's fairly chatty, and you know, I crack some jokes occasionally. Can't help myself. And so that's your little somewhere between 15 and 27, I think, is my biggest one. Page, fairly big font, first effort for the week. That should take you, you know, somewhere between 45 to an hour, I guess, to read that. That's your first pass over a topic. Second pass over the same material is the videos. The videos are designed to give you a little bit more detail. So I give you some more case descriptions. I tell you and explain a little bit more how the concepts work in practice. Sometimes, can't help myself, give my opinions about interpretations of cases, what the judges have said, and I flag for you things that are, you know, super important to take note of. So that's your second pass over the same material. What you're doing is just notching it up a little bit. You're ramping up your knowledge, the level of detail, okay? Then by the time you've got to the end of my videos for the week, the videos range anywhere from an hour and a bit to, well, week 7 is about 3 hours, as I keep saying, so plan for week 7. Start the week 7 videos in week 6. But they're normally around about the 1 hour, an hour and a bit, hour and a half mark. So once you've got your second pass over the same material, it's getting further in your brain. Then you can confidently go to GRAW with your 3 markers. And a think you'll find that by the time you've done it that way, in that order, you will see a lot more in GRAW that you didn't see before, because it's not new. You have a little bit of an idea about what the topic means to you. That's your third and most detailed pass over the same material. You've ramped up your knowledge again. Then do the quiz, practice for the assessment, and then doing the quiz and the tutorial work actually shifts your learning up a notch, because what it does is it makes your brain use the material that you've read. So you've moved from that more passive phase into a very active phase of actually having to work out, how do those principles work in practice when I'm being asked a question, like in the quiz, or when I'm posed a set of facts that I have to sift through and craft an answer in that IRAC method. The IRAC is probably the crowning glory of the week. So the quiz is your fourth pass over the material. The IRAC is the fifth pass over the same material in the 1 week. And that's where your deep learning comes in, and your practice for the 30% written assessment, you see. So all of this stuff builds beautifully into the assessments that you have for the unit. So there's method to my madness. So each week, make sure you really do try and set aside at least 20 minutes, a half hour to smash out an IRAC, as though it was almost like an exam, a mini exam each week for you. If it takes an hour, that's fine. If it takes an hour and a half, that's also fine. If it takes 3 hours, as long as you've got, room in your 12 odd hours, 2.5 hours, then I would really encourage you to actually get down and do it, because it's that process of struggling through and going back to my IRAC top tips document, going back to my IRAC autopsy, plugs for those, in the week 2 skills building tile. Then that process of struggle will cement the learning even further into your brain, okay? So by the time you've done that, multiple passes over the same material, you can then front up to tutorials and chat with your peers, chat with me, and actually articulate what it is that you've learnt. And that is probably the highest form of learning that you can cap off your week with, because you not only get to have read the material and nutted it out by doing the IRAC, but then you have to defend your views. And that's what we do as lawyers, isn't it? That's bread and butter for us. We present our views and defend them, support them, convince people to adopt them. That's what we do, okay? So that's why tutorials are super important. I'm saying super important a lot tonight, sorry. And so do try and come. If you can't, watch the recording and try and pick up those pearls of wisdom from your peers and from the discussions that are had during the evening. I have decided to crank out our tutorial time frame from approximately 1 hour to approximately an hour and a half. I've been told by the admin people that no one can slot in anything within 2 hours of our unit now. So that means that we have anywhere up to 2 hours to actually go ahead and do our tutorial work each week. I'll give you a little comfort break in between. So about the 1 hour mark or 40 odd minute mark, 45 minute. And the other thing that the tutorial will do is that it will help you connect with your peers. And sometimes online learning can be a little bit, of a lonely kind of, exercise, a bit isolating. And so when you connect with me and you connect with your peers, it's really great and so satisfying, because you actually realize, oh my goodness, there's people in the trenches with me. I have a whole bunch of classmates that are struggling with being hit with all of this information overload, all at the same time. We're all in this together, as the song goes. So it's important for your learning satisfaction and your feeling of being in a learning community to try and come to the tubes if you can. If you can't, as I said, try and glean as much of that from the recordings as you can. If you are an asynchronous student and you can't attend the tutorials, please feel free to jump onto Teams as much as you can. Teams is really friendly. Everyone there has been just so professional in the way that they've been giving feedback to other people's work. I've been giving some feedback and a bit of guidance, and it's really turning into a lovely learning community. So if you are an asynchronous student, please do jump onto Teams. I even note that there's been some study groups formed, which is awesome. People are meeting up, and that's really great because, you know, talking about your experience, this is, let's face it, for a lot of us here, you know, this is our dream come true to do law school. So talking about it with people that are going through the same experience is just great and so satisfying. That's probably, I'm so sorry, this has gone on a bit longer than I intended. But if you have any queries or questions, please do post them up onto Teams. Would be great. If you need to email me, that's also fine, or call me, that's also fine as well. So until I see you on Thursday evening, I look forward to chatting with you on Teams or in some other method of communication. Have a lovely evening or morning or whenever you're watching this. Till I see you on Thursday. Thanks. Bye for now, guys.